Well, a special great big thank you to that gold miner's daughter from Nome, who became the president of the Alaska Senate, who raised 2 outstanding daughters and is now enjoying her granddaughters. So to Gail Phillips, who nominated me, thank you so much. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. And as I listened to Jane tell how this came to be, this organization came to be, I am so impressed by the willingness to work together for the betterment of Alaska. That spirit through the YWCA, UAA, the Women's Political Caucus, the Zonta Club, and just the amazing volunteers like Jane have really created something very special here. I think it's outstanding. So thank you to them. Most all of us know in our hearts the women who we would like to see here, but they will live on forever in our hearts. And I'd like to name one tonight, Frances Walker of Valdez, my neighboring town. I was from Cordova, the Walkers were from Valdez. But Frances raised some amazing boys in a very tough environment. And she taught them the value of hard work and caring for one another. And they listened, and one grew up to be the governor of Alaska. So that kind of mothering makes us all very, very proud. So to Mrs. Walker, thank you for being here tonight. And the Walker family legacy is assured because they have fine, great children. They have outstanding children. And another one of the Walkers is here, Lindsay Walker. Thank you all for being here tonight. Alaska has afforded me some fabulous opportunities ever since I arrived here in 1967 in a pickup truck. But being a small town innkeeper and bartender and dishwasher and bus driver was particularly exciting and challenging. The stories are many, but one of my favorites was one night I drove the late bus to the airport, and there was only one passenger got off, so I loaded his gear into my bus, and then I drove him the 13 miles into town. And all this way, he was telling me about his importance, because he was an important guy, you have to understand. He was from a place far away called Washington, D.C. Not that the small town bus driver would know where that was, but he proceeded to tell me just how important he was. And he was here to meet extraordinarily important people, you understand. So I nodded and said, that's wonderful, that's great, good on you. So then when we arrived at my hotel, the night girl was gone, so I went in and checked him into the hotel. And then he had trouble with his TV, so I adjusted his television set. And then he called the desk and wanted to rent a car, so I shoveled off a car, warmed it up, and rented him a car. So the next morning, as I finished doing dishes in the restaurant, I went to my office at City Hall. And the poor dear, guess who he was here to meet? Yeah, that would be the mayor. And he's like, are you the real mayor? And I said, I would be the real mayor. Now, would you like me to check your oil before or after we negotiate this contract? But it's going to look a lot the same. He was just, his whole face just fell. Being Mayor Margy was indeed a fine title. The finest titles of all are grandma and mom. But being mayor of Cordova was pretty special. And yes, indeed, I did love toting those Copper River salmon up and down the West Coast. And the story that Eleanor told when Norm Rice was mayor of Seattle, I mean, I think the salmon is beautiful, all right? I'm from Cordova. So I did an official presentation to the mayor, from a mayor, what the heck? And his poor dear, he just went, ew, all the way down. But one of his aides, fortunately, picked it up. But none of us stand up here at a situation like this alone, and certainly not me. I come from a family of great, great women. My sister Dee Dee loved us completely, each and every one of us, and there were no buts in her vocabulary. She just said, I love you. She didn't say, I love you, but you need a haircut. I love you, but you need to do this. She just simply said, I love you. At one point in 1967, things were a little leaner back in those days. Somehow, my sister Dee Dee convinced her husband to buy a load of Montana Christmas trees, load them in a big truck, and in the cab of the truck had a couple of their children, and they drove the Elcan so we could sell Christmas trees here in Alaska, and we could all have enough money for Christmas. Now that's family love, I'm telling you. My sister Dee Dee is represented this evening by her dear daughter and my niece, Jackie D, who came up from Montana. So welcome, darling. My sister Kristen is here. She runs the family restaurant business in Montana. Our family's been in the restaurant business near Glacier Park for 65 years. Chicken every Sunday, baked bread every day. My sister has lived with metastatic stage 4 breast cancer for the last 19 years. That's a long time to be in metastatic stage 4. She does it graciously and with humor. I love you. My sister-in-law Chops is here. Chops was a superintendent of schools in Browning, Montana for more years than we care to remember. And before she held that position, my late brother held it as well. So I come from a long line of truly great and outstanding women, and I couldn't be more proud. Then there was Mrs. Betty Cuddy, who was always there and so gracious and taught we younger board members gracious manners, and she was always charming, and I always tried to emulate her, and she wrote impeccable thank you notes. I'll never forget the thank you notes I received from her. I treasure them. And here tonight we also have Alice Rogoff, my friend who fell in love with Alaska with the passion of an immigrant, and she put her money where her passion was and bought the newspaper. So thank you, Alice, for entrusting me to carry on with the dream and have great journalism to Alaska. And much on, because Alice will be flying that Iditarod in an airplane starting on Sunday. But I would suggest that as we enjoyed this company this evening and just how wonderful it is to be together as Alaskans, Alaska needs each and every one of us now more than ever. This is not the time to be faint of heart, because the Alaska that lies before us is far greater than that which is behind us, but it's going to require each and every one of us stepping up to the plate. This is not the time to stop, and working with the governor, working with the legislator, working with our individual communities, and helping Alaska. And I know we can do it, so there'll be room up here in the Alaska Women's Hall of Fame 10, 20, and 40 years from now for my friends' granddaughters. So thank you very much, everyone. It's a great privilege to be here.